We got I suddenly managed to forget your name.
Eric Olen.
Eric Olen. I literally just, and especially because my co-host of my radio show is named Eric. That is supremely embarrassing
we're good.
for me.
I'm a forgettable face over here. It's all good.
Trying to remember all these different names and faces, and that is like the two things that I am the worst. I literally have to have a chart telling me everyone's faces, being like, who's this SID? Who's this player? Who's this coach? Especially since we got a few new faces in the Mountain West. I guess, yeah, you're one of the new faces in the Mountain West. Of course, you faced some Mountain West teams last year. You faced Utah State. I believe there was another one. Didn't you face another Mountain West team?
We played at San Diego State.
Yeah, San Diego State. So a couple of encounters already coming to New Mexico. Of course, kind of the interesting thing is there's only two teams that beat Utah State in the Spectrum last year. UC San Diego, and now the team you're with, New Mexico. So I
didn't realize that.
Yeah, Utah State fans are very proud of the Spectrum, but you've been part of a team that came in, spoiled what was a pretty good start for them, and you're going to the team that kind of beat them out for the Mountain West title last year. But I guess let's start with your move to New Mexico. What was that like for you going from UC San Diego, who you'd taken to pretty big heights, and you're coming to New Mexico? What finally brought you over to the Mountain West?
Well, yeah, I mean it's this program. It's Lobo Nation. It's the fan support, the history, tradition of the program. I mean, if you're paying attention to college basketball, specifically on the West Coast, then New Mexico is one of those places that it's not an opportunity that you feel like you can pass up. And so we're fired up to be here, excited to get started, and really appreciative of the opportunity.
So a lot of teams have to face the challenge of replacing a lot of players. Nevada's bringing in like 10 new players. UNLV's replacing most of their roster. New Mexico, you're replacing everything. Coaching staff, players. I don't know. Hopefully they're not getting a new stadium, because that's pretty good. Feels like you're replacing everything with the program.
We're all in on the pit.
So what's just that been like, where obviously the program New Mexico is, you don't really need too many words to describe how great it is, but you guys are all new to that. How do you try and step into that? It's like you guys are New Mexico basketball now, but none of you have really interacted with a ton. How do you kind of just envelop yourself in that program?
Yeah, well, it starts with sort of leaning into that newness, right? Like we're kind of all in this together. We all came to Albuquerque for the same thing, is trying to build a great basketball program and represent, UNM and all the Lobo fans in the right way. And so, it just starts with embracing that and understanding that, we're all new, but there's a recognition of the history of the program and what makes it special, and that's all part of why we chose to be there, right? So really, trying to just lean into that, and we know that if we can just try to become the best team that we can, then all the other stuff will take care of itself.
And kind of speaking of the prestige of the New Mexico program, usually when you're replacing an entire new roster, I've seen that with a few teams like Utah State when they're replacing most of their roster, they get picked 8th, 9th, whatever. You guys are picked 5th. Despite replacing all that, do you feel like that speaks to not just who New Mexico is as a program, but also the job you've done in recruiting, that people have confidence that you'll be kind of in that upper echelon of the conference, despite the tendency for people to not vote for teams replacing everybody?
Yeah, no, I think that it's kind of part of the landscape now. If you look at, Utah State's a great example of that. A couple times. Changes in a row. Where they had turnover.
A couple new head coaches.
They maybe were able to keep some players and some good players, so that helps. But at the same time, right, that's having seen teams in the conference have that success even with the change could potentially affect that kind of thing. I think it's probably a compliment to the more to my staff for the group that they assembled. I do think we have a talented team, but we got a little ways to go to be able to kind of make it all gel and things like that. But I like our pieces. I like our guys. I think we have the right group. See what happens. We can't wait to start.
So let's talk about one of those particular guys, Dayton Albury, coming from Utah State to New Mexico. Just, I guess, what stood out to you about him? There's one thing, he's a pretty fast guy. Just what about him as a player overall stood out to you and his ability to contribute for you guys?
Yeah, well, I just think, the season that he had last year, I thought he was a really productive player last season and on a really good Utah State team. And again, we played against Utah State, so we saw Dayton in person. And then, they were really deep last year. They had a lot of talent in the backcourt. And so looking at Dayton's production in the role that he had, and so our hope is that, okay, can we get him in some of those positions? I thought they did a great job of getting Dayton into positions of strength, transition into space to attack the basket, things like. Can we create a similar environment for him and then scale up the role? We feel like if he can maintain the production that he had previously in that scaled up version, then that's a pretty good player.
Yeah, and like he's preseason All Mountain West. That's typically those are guys that are expected to be very productive players. You feel like he can be one of those. I don't know if I want to put stat totals on there, but you look at 15-point per game guys. Like, do you feel like he can be one of those leading these producers in the conference?
I think he has that opportunity. I mean, I don't know about the specific points, but
yeah, it's always tricky to start venturing into that range.
I don't even think about him that way, right? Like we talk about like your usage and your your volume and different things like that. So he's an aggressive player, right? Like his style is somewhat like kind of relentless. He's always attacking, and so he's naturally going to be a pretty high usage player. We're trying to encourage that to where. Like we talked about it, kind of expanding on some of the things that he was doing last year. I've been pleasantly surprised at the way he's seen the floor and some of the the playmaking that he's brought, as well as kind of the rim pressure. So that was something that he wasn't maybe asked to do as much, or just didn't materialize for him last year. There was some of it, but like what we've seen, and we feel like we have some good pieces around him in terms of shooting and trying to space the floor. And I think when Dayton has space, then he's pretty dangerous in the open floor or with enough room to attack. Yeah,
it's pretty tricky. Like whenever he gets going downhill, it's like heaven help you. It's really hard to stop him when
really
he gets going.
Fast with the basketball.
So I've been asking a few coaches about this because one of the hot button topics for kind of college basketball as a whole is expansion with the NCAA tournament. I know you got UC San Diego there, and you guys won your first game, didn't you? Or you?
No, unfortunately,
you really
dropped a tight one to Michigan.
Okay, yeah, it was really close. That's what I remember. I know I picked you guys to win that game.
Yeah, a lot
I
of
thought
people
you were
going
picking
us.
I
wasn't thrilled with all.
Yeah, sometimes that's a bad sign. It's the favorite to be the upset.
It's like maybe pick a different 5-12.
Yeah. I guess just what are your thoughts on expanding that? Just theoretically more opportunities maybe for the mid-major, or there's some people that are fiercely against it. Just have you given much thought to that at all?
Yeah, I think as someone who loves college basketball, it's a little weird not even for it to be 64 at this point.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, once we get off 64, it's sort of like you've opened
should they start changing the seating numbers? Like, because now we're doing this like
I don't know what to do with it. And then I think as a team in a one bid league last year, that we really had an amazing season and had like some incredible metrics, right? Like we were 35 in the net, top 40 in Ken Palm. I thought that our team did about everything that they could do, to create a resume. And so to think that, like, how good that team was, like, because we felt like that was a team that was good enough to advance. Like, we didn't advance, but, like, we felt like we built a team that was good enough to advance the NCAA tournament. To think that if, it's the challenge of being in a one-bid league, and one of the reasons that, this iteration of the Mountain West is fun to be part of is that, a little room for error is nice. Like, you have one bad night, and, I think we were fortunate in the Big West to have two. We had two of the best teams in the Big West in the last 20 years, right? And one of us, we were fortunate to be the one that won and went on, and Irvine went and had a really good NIT, but, like, that was a tournament-level team, and I think, like, the way that some of the scheduling and the metrics are being used, that it really is boxing out some of the lower level mid-major teams that I think really make March Madness part of what it is, right? Like, everybody, if you just have all the high majors in there, then it's not really that same story, and so I have mixed emotions, right? Like, expanding it maybe provides more opportunity, but then there's this classic love for what it's always been, and you don't want to lose either thing. So I don't know the answer. It's why there's so much debate about it, and it's an amazing event that we all want to be part of and all love, and And I think everybody's hoping for the best with how it goes forward.
And you mentioned kind of mid-majors maybe getting boxed out. Like, it feels like scheduling, because I've been following Utah State, their attempts to schedule literally anybody. How difficult is it to build a tournament resume type thing, type schedule, like when maybe a lot of the high majors aren't really willing to schedule you? I'm sure you ran into that at UC San Diego. You had to travel to Utah State. And I can't imagine it's much easier at New Mexico trying to get a tournament-level resume.
No, it's a real challenge, and I think, it's something like if you look at, if you go and look at all the schedules in the Mountain West, non-conference, quad 1, quad 2 home games, you're going to have a hard time finding those.
Yeah.
Right, across the board, everybody, right? Like everyone has to go. Right, we have all these great home environments, and you'd think like, oh yeah, let's be part of that. Let's get a great home and home, or we'll come there, But it's just not, and it's nobody's. I don't blame the other coaches at the other schools, right? Like it's maybe not in their best interest to play certain games because of how the metrics play out, and but you're losing some of the essence of college basketball of like, it's awesome to go play at Utah State. It's awesome to play at the Pit. And I think all of us where we are, we would love those home and home opportunities, but everybody's got to make decisions for their program that make the most sense, and it takes two to schedule. And so like if you look at all the quad 1 and quad 2 non-conference opportunities in the Mountain West, a significant portion of them are on neutral courts, maybe on the road. It's I won't say impossible, but it's
really hard,
extremely difficult to get a quad 1 or quad 2 home game. So, sometimes you have to schedule a team that's maybe not in that quadrant or not projected in that quadrant and hope they have a really good year. We started home and home with Santa Clara, right? Really good basketball team, but, are we 100% sure they're going to be in the top 75? No. So if they're 80 and not 70, then our schedule changes. And did the quality of that team really change? No. So you kind of have to hope for the best, schedule the best you can, create a challenging schedule that you hope, and then hope that those teams, Utah State's probably doing the same thing. Any bubble team is doing the same thing where you're watching all your opponents and saying okay, well, if they could win that one and maybe they could get up one quad, if they could move up 4 spots, that's a quad for us. It's, so you just
you become fans of a lot of different teams.
And then at some point you're just well, I can't even root for all this, right? They're mutually exclusive. We can't have all these results. So, you just then you just give up and hope for the best.
Just kind of final quick question here. Just what's the biggest thing you're most excited for jumping into the Mountain West, jumping into New Mexico? What's the thing you're looking forward to most this year?
I think it's just competing in this conference and in these environments. Obviously, playing the home games in the Pit is something that I've been hearing about and thinking about since we took the job. And but it's with this last iteration of the Mountain West, I think we want to go and enjoy all these. Right, we're excited to come to Utah State at the end and hear how the fans respond to Dayton Albert's name getting called. And so I think those are some of the things that there's challenges on your schedule, but they're also it's a lot of fun to participate and compete in those type of environments. I think as competitive people in this business, that's really what you're looking for all the time.
It's kind of what college basketball is all about.
Absolutely.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much. Eric Olen, I didn't forget your name this time. Thank you so much for coming on. Have a good one.